Welcome to the Climate Report. This is Hart Hagen. I'm here with Kathleen Hallal. Kathleen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks, Hart. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to have you. So the Climate Report is about how to actually solve the climate crisis, not just talk about it. There's a whole bunch of misinformation out there about the climate. But we're going to talk about how to actually solve the climate crisis. And Kathleen, I'm going to get to your bio here in just a minute, and we're going to say it's right here. Uh, Kathleen's bio. Okay. So Kathleen is a mother of three boys. When her children were struck with autoimmune issues, she became aware of the dangers that exposures to toxic chemicals pose in our children's environment. Kathleen encourages communities to take a hard look at the chemicals that are being used and to eliminate children's exposure to toxic pesticides in parks and on school grounds. With the help of scientists and medical professionals, Kathleen led the movement in Irvine, California, by starting with the school district and then working with a group to approach the city council. As a founding member of non-toxic communities, she looks forward to helping more districts and cities adopt organic landscaping methods. She is grateful to live in Irvine with her husband and family, where community leaders listen with good ideas. And that's a good intro, but it doesn't do justice to you, Kathleen. So, Kathleen, this is about like the third extended conversation we've had. Kathleen introduced me to, like, back before I really had a clue about soil and before I had very much of a clue about toxic pesticides. Kathleen was giving me the lowdown. So, Kathleen, how did you get into this work, and what gives you your passion for this work?
Well, I got into it first because my children had health issues and I wanted to find ways to make them healthier. So I started looking into diet and I started speaking with actually farmers to figure out what was going on in our farmland, to figure out how to find the safest foods for my family and how to find food that might heal my kids. And when I started talking to these farmers in the Midwest, I started learning what's going on, in the food production behind the scenes before the cereal goes into your cereal box, what's happening out in the fields. And I learned about GMOs and that, a lot of them are sprayed with chemicals uh, to kill the weeds that are surrounding the plants, but then the plants are genetically engineered to survive the herbicide spray. And those are harvested, those plants and those crops, and then those go into your food.
Mhm.
So 80% of GMO crops that are out there right now are what is known as Roundup Ready crops. And that
Right.
means that they're glyphosate resistant. They can be sprayed with glyphosate several times and they'll still grow and they'll still be harvested, but the glyphosate becomes a part of that food. And on top of that, there are strains that are called BT strains, which are strains of GM crops that are made to be herbicides. So the plant and the food are patented herbicides. And when the bugs eat them, the bugs' stomachs explode and they die. And the idea was that when we did this, it would be very convenient for farmers. If we allowed them to just spray the whole field with Roundup and have the plants that are insecticides, it'd be perfect for the farmers because all they have to do is plant, spray, and harvest. But what's happened is it's caused a disaster in our fields. There's now herbicide resistant weeds that are almost impossible to battle. And the same thing has happened with the bugs. Now they've eaten the BT. Now we have strains of crops out there. Well, we have kinds of seed out there with 6, 7, 8 different strains of BT, trying to still kill the bugs, but the bugs have gone around, nature's gone around. So now you have really strong insects and really strong weeds that are resistant to all this. And the bottom line is we're still eating the food that is sprayed more and more and has more and more of these strains of BT in it. That's not a good idea for our families to eat. So when I learned about all this, I spoke with vets, government scientists, several different sources. I didn't stop at the first one I'd heard from. I really researched it with doctors and I went very far. And we switched our family's diet to organic and our kids, together with other medical interventions, got better. So I'm very grateful. But I am most grateful to the farmers who first taught me about what was going on in our fields with the pesticide spraying. And it's just not a good idea. And in terms of the climate, when you were talking about the climate earlier, the problem with this kind of farming is that it destroys the soil.
Mm.
It destroys the soil biology. It destroys the creatures that live in the soil. It destroys the pollinators. We are really messing up our climate by not caring for the soil. If we would just care for our soil, we would be healthier, and the soil can absorb a lot of carbon. I don't know if your followers have seen the film The Need to Grow on Netflix. It's an amazing film.
The
And
need to grow.
talk about that, the need to grow. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that we want to talk about pesticides. Then there's different kinds of pesticide. Like the term pesticide means, like broadly speaking, when you think of pesticide, that's kind of in the popular mind, that's synonymous with insecticide. But, more another definition of pesticide is that it broadly includes like insecticides, which kill insects, herbicides, which kill weeds, and fungicides, which kill fungi, all of which, I like the term biocides, that which kills life, which, if it kills life, then maybe we have a problem. But so this journey led you to talk with Midwest farmers. How did you, discover, how did your journey take you in that direction? And who are some of the people you talked to, and what did you find out?
Well, I spoke with farmers from several different states, and they told me about these crops, and they told me about how the different crops with the different chemicals had different effects on their farm animals, including fertility, stomach issues, skin problems, and behavioral issues. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, surely this relates to our children's health conditions. So I really listened to them carefully. And then they introduced me to different retired government scientists from the EPA, the USDA, our Army, our military, and they confirmed everything that the farmers had told me. And they all basically said, get your family off it, and we should work toward, going back to safer methods of farming rather than spraying everything with glyphosate. And this, when I was learning about this is way before everyone knew about the glyphosate issues. When the World Health Organization came down with their decision that glyphosate is a probable carcinogen, and then there were the lawsuits, which won repeatedly for record amounts. Now people are much more aware of at least glyphosate, but there are still many other chemicals and many other fertilizers that are being used out there that are unhealthy for our environment. And I want to apologize. The title of the film that I want everybody to see on Netflix is called Kiss the Ground.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
And it's all about the soil and how if we heal it, we can help climate change. And it's produced by a friend of mine, Rob Herring, and he's just done an amazing job. And it's narrated by Woody Harrelson.
Right.
So I think there's a lot to learn out there. I've learned so much over the years, just speaking with this person and the next person and the next person, and then seeing with my own family when we switched to organic, how our health improved. And, our pediatrician, who I'd gotten very close to, started to complain. She said, I never see you anymore. So it's kind of like, it costs money to switch over to organic. The organic foods cost more, but we ate out less, and then we spent a lot less on medical bills. So it all worked out. And it was all to the benefit of my children's health and eventually the planet. And then I co-founded Non-Toxic Communities with my friend Diana, and she is still running Non-Toxic Communities. I stepped down. I am an advisory board member now. I'm no longer vice president because I'm now representing a product called Contact Organics, which is a non-toxic herbicide. When you were talking about pesticides, and being the umbrella, it's a non-toxic herbicide that you can use in place of products like Roundup.
So tell me the name of your product again, and then tell me all about it.
It's
Your
called
herbicide,
Contact.
your non-toxic herbicide.
Yes. It's called contact organics.
Contact organics. Okay.
And the EPA has classified it as a biopesticide. And what that means is it's made from naturally derived ingredients. It's not certified organic. Um, this is mainly due to a process of extracting the natural oils that we have in our product. Contact Organics works on technology. It doesn't work on very strong or harsh ingredients. It works on technology. And in order for the technology to work, the oil that we extract must be very pure. And in order to be certified organic, in order to extract those oils, the only acceptable method for them is pressing. And the problem with pressing is that you get pith and you get other sort of not really pollutants, but other ingredients in the oil, so that it's not very pure. So we have to extract the oil using an alcohol process so that it comes out very clean and very pure. And then our product works on technology. The toxicity is extremely low. Our LD50 is at 50,000 milligrams per kilogram at the point of application. So it's the concentrate is based on 20% acetic acid, but when it's mixed and applied, it's only at a 1% strength of acetic acid. And acetic acid, for people that don't know, is more or less vinegar. And when you make your salad at home, your salad is about 8% acetic acid. And our product is 1% when it's applied. So it's very mild for the soil, very safe. And we had Bob Kramer, who is a retired USDA senior scientist who's now working in the Department of Ag at the University of Missouri, do soil testing. And he tested the soil biology to make sure our product would not harm the soil biology, because we are all about working from the soil up. When you talk about helping the climate, or when you talk about having a healthy garden, or even a healthy family, it's all about our biology, our internal biology, and the bacteria. And you need a balance of good bacteria to control bad bacteria and fungi and other things that might hurt your plants or your health. So, excuse me, my dog is talking to me. Anyway, yeah, so we are all about protecting the soil. Our product is very effective at controlling weeds. It works by desiccating the weeds. It breaks down the outer waxy barrier on the plants, and then the weeds are desiccated, and that's how it works. It's very effective. It's non-selective, so it will kill whatever it touches. So you have to be careful. If you're spraying in a garden and you're kind of using it in spots, you can use sheets of cardboard or something to protect the flowers or the plants that you want, and you can kill the weeds around them. It won't go into the soil and spread and kill the other plants. It doesn't work like, for example, Roundup or glyphosate work. Those are called systemic herbicides. And what that means is they'll touch a part of the plant, and then they'll go down through the plant, out through the roots and into the soil. And they kill everything. Those products kill everything on their way, all the way out. Our product does not do that. It only controls the weeds that it touches, and you can protect your other plants. And it's so safe for the soil that you could actually use it in the soil and then plant fresh flowers and they'd be fine.
Right.
It's completely biodegradable. And when it hits the soil, it breaks down in under an hour. So
yeah, well, our listeners need to know that the organic label, it's an understatement to say that the organic label doesn't say everything. Just because it is organic doesn't mean it's not problematic. And if it's not organic, in your case, your product is not organic, but that's because it's still very healthy and non-toxic, even though for reasons that are just kind of too complicated to go into here. It doesn't meet the organic standard, but that doesn't mean a whole lot.
Well, it does. I mean, I am NOFA accredited, Northeastern Organic Farmers Association, and organic land care practices. It's just that you can't always use everything that's just certified organic.
Right.
Sometimes it's okay to go just over the line and use that as part of a balanced program. But the principles of organics are what are important: protecting the soil health, working from the soil up, not using anything that hurts pollinators or hurts, neighboring plants. the product should always be very safe. The one case in which you need to be careful with our product is when you're mixing it, the concentrate is 20% acetic acid, which can be very strong if it gets in your eyes. So you should protect your eyes.
Mhm.
And then once it's mixed, it's fine to use anywhere you wish, just not directly over water because it's acidic based and it's not good for aquatic life. But you can even use it on river banks or right up to the banks of a pond. As long as it goes through the dirt first, it's just fine. And our product would fit into an organic practices program. And the reason I stepped down from non-toxic communities, which I love, is so that I could sell this product because non-toxic communities is a nonprofit.
Mhm.
And so now I'm only a board advisor so that I could go out and sell contact organics. But after having worked in this arena for so many years and visiting with city after city and all different schools and communities, the one thing the landscape guys kept saying to me was, you know, what can you bring us as a solution? If we
Mhm.
stop using Roundup, which we love for the convenience,
Mhm.
what can you offer as a solution? And I couldn't find anything out there that was that effective that they really loved until this product.
Mhm.
And this product, because it works on technology, the ingredients are not offensive. They don't, you know, some organic products I hear they seem like pepper spray. If they blow in the wind toward dogs or toward people, you know, they have very strong clove oil, cinnamon oil, ingredients like that that are pretty offensive.
Mm.
Our product is not. It smells a little bit like mild vinegar and then it dries and it
Mhm.
doesn't smell like anything. So it's not offensive, yet it's very effective at controlling weeds,
What do you
thistles,
mean it
dandelions,
works on
everything.
technology?
Well, that's proprietary,
Okay.
but when I was first told about it, I kind of hit my forehead and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is so obvious. It's so simple."
Mhm.
But rather than having very strong ingredients like some other products do, that actually in the end may end up harming soil biology. Our product is actually gentler because
Mm.
it works on a specific technology that only affects the waxy outer layer of the plant and it breaks it down effectively so that the plant is desiccated. So
Yeah.
it's really a simple principle.
Desiccated means drying out. Like the waxy layer is, helps the plant to retain its moisture. And if your product affects that outer waxy layer, then it serves to desiccate or dry out the plant, and that's how it kills the plant.
That's right. And it works very quickly. The warmer it is, the quicker it works. So if you get down into the 60s, it slows down, but it still works. Our product works between, you know, in the 60s up to the 100 degrees, maybe just over, you know, as long as the plants are going through photosynthesis, our product works. And we're having really great success, even with invasives, even with viney plants. There are just different techniques to keep on it until you win the battle in your
Mhm.
garden.
Mhm.
But people are very happy with our product. So I'm very excited to be out there with a solution because for so long I was going to cities and saying, please go organic. Please stop using glyphosate, stop using glufosinate,
Mhm.
clean up your fertilizer, use organic fertilizer, please use cleaner products all around. But they just said their number one problem always was controlling weeds. So I've taken the leap and I'm very happy to be representing this product. It's been a few months now. My company is based in Utah. We're for sale in 47 US states. California, Washington, and Oregon have some extra state level EPA paperwork to go through, which we're going through now. And
Mhm.
hopefully soon will be available in my own home state of California. But in all the other states where we're selling, cities are very grateful to have our products. Cities, universities, even homeowners. I have private gardeners who ask me to use the product. And as long as you know, use the technique properly, we give the instructions and there's a little instructional video, you'll be successful. So
Right.
I'm very excited after all these years. I'm the thing that drives me really is I care about communities. I care about all these kids that are out in parks, especially, you know, with COVID having hit us. I think there's a lot more awareness in how you have to take care of your environment. You need to take care of the food you're eating and putting in your body. And you also need to take care of your environment in order to be strong, healthy, and resilient. So I just, for me, when I see communities with dogs and kids running in parks or adults, I just feel like all of those areas should be very clean and very healthy. And the more you learn about climate, right, the soil is very important for absorbing the carbon. And as long as we use those intensive chemical products, we kill the soil biology and it can't absorb the carbon. So if you watch the movie Kiss the Ground, or you learn about carbon absorption of the soil and soil health, you can understand how that fits into a healthy climate. It just benefits everyone to clean up what we're doing in our landscaping. And the gardens are more beautiful than ever when you adopt organic or non-toxic practices and you do it correctly from A to Z. The grass is so lush and the plants are so healthy. You have much a much lower level of weeds in fields that are healthy, because the healthy plants and the healthy soil push out the weeds by themselves.
Mhm.
And actually, if you see a field with very hard compacted soil and kind of dirt patches and weeds, that's a sign that the soil is very unhealthy. And when you heal the soil, that repairs itself with very little work. The trick is to work with nature, to leave the soil biology healthy, to support it, to feed the soil biology, to manage the pH in the soil. And I know this sounds a little bit complicated, but it's not. It's actually very simple. It's just that most of our professionals who are managing our communities have been trained in just chemical methods, and that's all they know.
I know. It's like I date it back to like 1945, 1950. That's when the chemical agriculture really got big. And that's when, we got big into synthetic fertilizers that give us nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. So we got big into insecticides. And so there's another way to do it. And then since, like, that was 75 years ago, since that time, the nutritional value of our foods has gone way down because it takes soil biology to deliver nutrients to our foods. The farming methods, the chemicals that we use for fertilizers, the chemicals that we use for pesticides, they kill the soil biology so that the soil no longer has the capability of delivering nutrients to the plants. So
That's exactly right. After World War II, more or less, those chemicals were brought back here, and those war chemicals were turned into agricultural chemicals for essentially a war on weeds, a war on bugs, and it seemed as though that was really going to help our crop production.
Let's talk about war chemicals. This is like the violence, the violent version of agriculture. So you have insecticides that used to be that were literally these insecticides are derived from the chemicals that were used in the death camps, the nerve gases, they're neurotoxins, and the fertilizers are derived from like nitrogen fertilizers from a nitrogen fixing process that was used to make bombs in World War I, World War II. So after the war, it's like, wow, we have all of these capabilities to, well, let's use this for insecticides and for for fertilizers. And yeah, there were some immediate gains from that, but at what price? What price have we paid for chemical fertilizers and pesticides that are neurotoxins? And now we have genetically modified organisms and that are the reason that Roundup Ready corn and soy is genetically modified, is to make it resistant to the herbicide. So you can just spray all this herbicide on the fields. It kills the weeds. It doesn't kill the GMO corn, the GMO soy, but at what cost?
That's right. The crops are, I think the breakdown on the GMOs are about 80% Roundup Ready or glyphosate tolerant, and the other 20% is glufosinate tolerant. And in a lot of communities where I've been working with parks departments and city departments, a lot of them say, oh, we don't use Roundup anymore. We don't use glyphosate. You don't have to worry. But a lot of them are using glufosinate, which is just a cousin of glyphosate. And I've heard of communities telling people it's considered organic and it's non-toxic, it's water soluble. I've heard all kinds of things. And I know from speaking with the farmers that glufosinate is terrible too. It's just it's an unfortunate substitution.
It just goes to show you, if it's not one thing, it's another,
That's exactly right.
Like, at some point, glyphosate is going to be banned, but Bayer has another product in the pipeline, and they're going to have another herbicide, another toxic herbicide when glyphosate gets taken off the market. At least I heard that from Zach Bush.
I'm sure they
so
will.
if it's not one thing, it's another. Or we could get back to a more like organic as a thing, but we could get back to a type of growing food that does not depend on synthetic fertilizers, does not depend on toxic herbicides, does not depend on toxic insecticides. We can grow food that way, and farmers can do it profitably, but it takes time and consumer demand to go from where we are to where we need to be.
That's right. And it is growing, but I wish it would grow
Not fast enough. Not
Yeah, I
fast
wish it
enough.
would grow faster. But it takes us, it takes people in our
Mhm.
communities, and whatever you can do, even if it's a small thing. Robin O'Brien always says everyone can do one thing, and whatever that is, that might just be buying some organic groceries when you go to the store every week, or supporting a local farmer, or seeing if you can get your school district to stop using toxic pesticides and switch to safer methods. Whatever you can do, whatever your passion is, we all need to get out there and do something about it to change what's going on. But the nutrition issue is really a big one, that an apple today versus an apple in the 50s, we are missing out on a lot of the vitamins and nutrients that we need to survive. And
So
yeah,
it used to be an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now it's 8 apples a day keeps the doctor away, because that's about how many apples it takes. About 8 apples to equal what used to be 1 apple. Apples, oranges, carrots, you name it.
they don't have it.
So the trendy term these days is nutrient dense foods. Are our foods nutrient dense? Do we have nutrient dense vegetables? A lot of the, some people who are not vegan and want to eat meat and want to eat meat that's well grown are talking about the nutrient density of regeneratively raised beef, pork, chicken, etc. But that nutrient density is key.
It is key, and it comes from good soil health. The soil is really the key to the climate and also our good health. I mean, all the way around. The oranges in Florida shortly won't be certified anymore as being a source of vitamin C.
I know some oranges have like 0 vitamin C, certifiably 0 vitamin C.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I encourage everyone to just start doing your research wherever you can, and start to make change wherever you can. Watch what you feed your family. If I had to say one thing, one piece of advice for me was healing my family by going organic, and also learn about what's going on in your community and try to be a voice. Try to be a voice. If you go to nontoxiccommunities.com, you can get information on how to make change in your community. It's interesting. Now I'm great friends with Christina Shea, who was mayor of our town when the decision was made for us to have an organics first policy. And we're very close. I mean, we've been working for years together, and it's a very good cause, and it actually brings people together. When I first started coming forward, people would look at me like I had 3 heads, but not today. People understand today that these things are important.
Right. So, I mean, the difference between Hearthagen now and Hearthagen like a year ago or prior to that is that I'm like overwhelmed with the amount of toxins that are in our environment. I mean, how can we there are so many toxins there. the EPA has not been able to keep up with it. They don't have the funding, they don't have the legal mandates, they don't have the regulatory structure. They do have regulatory capture in that the EPA, like most regulatory agencies, they're captured by the very businesses that they're supposed to be regulating. And the number of chemicals that are in our environment versus the number that are regulated. I mean, the ones that are regulated are just such a small fraction of what's actually in it. So can you say more about any of that? It's like I want people to freak out because, you know, if you're not freaking out, you're not paying attention.
Well, I will say that our health as a nation is going down the tubes. 54% of US school children now have a chronic health condition. That's an official government figure. I personally suspect it's actually higher.
Mhm.
I've been out, you know, raising my kids and talking to professionals and speaking with other moms and other activists about this, and it's only getting worse. So it's up to us to really turn things around. There are wonderful organizations out there, though, that can help you protect your family. Um, one
One of
organization,
them is non-toxic communities. What else?
non-toxic communities, that would be for, you know, community environments, parks, landscaping, those kinds of issues. We were very focused on only that in non-toxic communities. But there are other groups called Made Safe. I think it's .org. If you go to madesafe.org, who are some ladies who are very, very stringent about what they approve and what they don't for body care, furniture, clothing, all kinds of things. There are all kinds of groups out there. There's another group out there called Momavation that looks into toxicity of different products. Once you start looking, you can find good organizations. I will warn you that there are quite a few organizations out there who do what is known as greenwashing.
Right. No
And they're not
doubt. No doubt. Mhm.
they're not necessarily all legitimate. So do some vetting. You know, don't listen to me or anyone else about exactly where to go. Do vetting, do investigation, look behind the scenes and see if they're very focused and very reliable. And if they have good accreditation, or what kind of scientists are on their advisory panel. Are they good scientists? Look at the universities where they work, look at what they've published, do a little bit of work, because there are kind of front groups out there that pretend to be green groups that promote things that might not necessarily be that safe for your family. But you know, I never want to overwhelm people when I talk about this. I think it is a little scary what's happening to our children's health overall. When our boys had issues, I thought we were kind of the only family, but I found out it was mostly all of my friends who had boys, especially. There was one issue or another. Girls seem to have less issues, but still they have it going on. But the thing that really drove this home for me was COVID last year. You know, it was so frightening when it first came. You know, everybody kind of went home and it was kind of like batten down the hatches and scrub your floors and get your masks. And, you know, it's like, what do we do? What do we do? And luckily I was stocked. I already had all the organic products,
Mhm.
a lot of essential oils. And we had a lot of good practices already. And we, knock wood, did okay, because I like to believe, because we're healthy people. We move, we're active, we eat well, and we're careful about what we put in our bodies and what we surround our bodies with. And everyone can do this to one extent or another. But I really admire the people who are working on climate and who are attuned to healing the soil as a way to fix climate change, because it's something everyone can agree on. You mentioned in the beginning that some people don't believe climate change exists or whatever. Whatever your position is, it's not a political thing. Wanting to have healthier soil and healthier flora in our bodies so
Mhm.
that we are more resilient, that goes beyond politics. That's not a political subject. That is
Right.
just a subject about your family's health. And I have very good friends from all sides of the political spectrum who feel the same way I do. So actually, it's been kind of a relief to be in this movement from that point of view, because these issues can bring people together, because we all have in common that we want our kids and our families to be healthy. And when it comes to the soil, we only have 60 harvests left, and then we'll be out of topsoil in the US, our beautiful Great Plains. So we do need to pay attention to what we're doing, and we do need to support the farmers that are doing the right things. Go to your local farmers market. And, if you really want to, ask your farmer if you can visit their farm. I've never had anyone tell me no.
Right.
They're usually proud to have you come visit and see
Mhm.
their operations and see what they're doing and see that they're working from integrity. And as a family, we always try to go organic when we can. We are as organic as possible. And I have a pretty strict rule with our groceries, but sometimes we buy from farmers who we know are doing the same practices or maybe even higher level
Right.
practices than just the organic
Mhm.
regulations. So you will find as you go along the right niches to support and what fits
Yeah,
for your family.
we need to shorten the distance between, we need to shorten the number of steps between our food and ourselves. If you can grow your own, fine. Most of us can't do a whole lot of that. But if there's like, I mean, I know the farmer that grows I get I'm into pork these days. I get a pork roast and pork chops every week from my farmer who lives an hour from here, and I get my vegetables from Rob, and my meat from Carrie. I know my farmers. I've been to Rob's farm. I haven't been to Carrie's farm yet, but I'm going to at some point. But shortening the number of steps, and getting that nutrient density. Some of it is being free of the insecticides and the pesticides, and some of it is having that nutrient density. So the nutrient density makes your body more resilient to stresses and threats and things like that. And just because somebody, not supplements are fine for all I know. I mean, I'm not saying supplements are bad, but sometimes, a vitamin or a nutrient or a mineral needs to be in a form, what's it called? Your body needs to be able to
Bioavailable.
access bioavailable. Yeah, your body, thank you. Your body needs to be available, or needs to, those nutrients need to be bioavailable.
Right.
So we can't
That's right.
we can't compensate. We can't do everything with supplements. We need to get much of our nutrition from real food.
That's true. And when you're shopping out there, there's organic and then there's corporate organic. There are different kinds of organic.
I
And
know.
for me, that's all better than, say, the GM
Mhm.
crops or
Right.
the conventional crops.
Yeah.
However, once you start like getting to know your farmer, then soil nutrients comes, into play, and all those other things that can take your food really to the next level. And when you eat healthier food, you just feel better. I mean,
Mhm.
I can attest. I'm so grateful that I learned about all this. I mean, I used to just buy whatever was in the grocery store. We never ate a lot of, junk food specifically, but I would buy everything that was the name brand that I was raised on, that my mother bought. And that's over now. Now I'm much more at home in the granola kind of store,
Yeah. Mhm.
or the farmer's market. I've just changed the way I shopped, and my family has benefited. And I want everyone to benefit from that. And I also would like for everyone to have a clean community where they're not using dangerous, even fertilizer. Fertilizer can be really toxic. It's called toxic sludge, and
Mhm.
it can be really intense. So, you know, if you can become aware of what's going on in your community as well as what's going on in your own kitchen, I think you're taking good steps toward having better health and surviving things like COVID or the annual flu, whatever comes your way.
We're going to wrap it up in just a minute, but I have to say that just recently I read Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma.
Yeah.
And Matt, he is a fabulous writer. And like the first chapter is your industrial food system. We're going to talk corn, baby. and everything that corn goes into. And then you have your organic food system, which is, yes, in almost every respect is at least slightly better than the
That's right.
industrial food system,
Yeah.
but it's still got issues. And then he goes to the third section, he goes to Joel Salatin's farm in Virginia, talks about how all that works. And then he goes hunting and hunting for pigs and hunting for mushrooms, and that's a whole other thing. But it's a really well-written book, and the industrial food. So it was an education reading about the industrial food system and how corn is in everything. Corn is the fuel that feeds all of our processed foods,
That's right.
and and then the organic food system is still, I mean, even though it's better in almost every respect, industrial organic is still really in fossil fuel intensive. It's still a bit exploitative. It still usually does tilling, which, tillage is about as, tillage and tillage and biocides are the two things that are really hard on our soils. And in organic, they're not using the biocides, but they're doing a lot of tilling.
They
So,
are, and there are issues too, like dairy farmers are really struggling right now to make a living because you have big industrial dairy,
mhm,
which where the cows are fed organic feed, but they're really, I mean, for all intents and purposes, living in CAFOs.
mhm,
And they're not like the cows in the meadow that you see on the outside of the package. They're in industrial organic. And, a lot of people are buying this milk, which I understand it costs less, but that's hurting the genuine smaller farmer
yeah,
that really does have the
right.
cows in the pasture, like you see in the picture. So, just get to know your farmers, buy more locally if you can. And Hart,
Mhm,
you're exactly right. Kind of just get closer to your food source, know
mhm.
how it's raised. And it's fascinating and fun to learn about it too. It's
It is.
not like a chore. It's really
In Harthagen's perfect world, we're spending like 3 or 4 times as much time and money on food, and we have relief from some of these other expenses that we should be relieved of, that we don't need to be, which is a whole other conversation. But what's more important than growing and eating good food and clean water? And there's like there's a price to be paid for cheap food. So many ways there's a high price to pay for cheap food.
That's absolutely right. It's cheap now. It's not cheap tomorrow. It's Joel Salatin, the farmer you mentioned, who
Yeah.
said, "Have you priced cancer lately?"
Oh my God. Yeah.
Whenever people say organic's
Yeah.
expensive, he says, "Well, have you priced cancer lately?" And since you mentioned water, I would just like to share with everyone. I know an engineer. He has a water company, water filtration systems for homes or farms or cities or cruise ships. His name is Vache, and his company is named Persanova, Pursanova. If you go to
Mhm.
persanova.com.
Okay.
I don't have any interest in
Right.
promoting his systems. It's just we use it.
Oh,
And water is another very important factor
yeah.
for your home. Even
Right.
if you only get an under sink unit, it will greatly benefit you to really take care of your water, clean it out. You don't want to get just any RO, reverse osmosis system, or any old system because it might not filter out what you think it is, or it might strip out too many minerals. So the water is what they refer to as hungry and it ends up taking nutrients out of your body. You want to look into a water system where you trust the person that's built the system to make the water balanced and clean, but still have minerals. So I just thought I'd put that plug in there for
Thank
person.
you for that. There's so much to talk about. We're going to have to get back together again soon. And tell me again your company, Contact Organics, and
Contact Organics,
and how
and
do people get in touch with you?
you can order online. And my email is k.hallal, Hallal, at contactorganics.com. But if you go to the website, you can order, and please mention my name when you go to order, mention Kathleen, and they'll ship it to you. And there are very small sizes that you can order just to try it out. But it's amazing. I would not have left my nonprofit world if it weren't for this product and the extreme need that cities, schools, communities, and even homeowners need a safe product that's very effective. I recommend you use, our product or any other product that's OMRI certified that you find works for your situation. I'm amazed at the technology of this product, and I know the people who are behind it. And I'm just happy to see a clean and effective product out there.
Sounds great. Well, I'm excited, if at some point I get to use it and if it's half as good as you say it is, then, as somebody, removing invasive species is an important thing. Also, invasive plant species, also being able to say, hey, I don't want turf grass, I want a pollinator meadow. So I
Yes.
want to be able to get rid of this turf grass in a way that's quick, easy, cheap, effective, non-toxic, non-fattening, and then we're good to go. So anyway, I suppose there'll be a time for that. Thank you, Kathleen, so much for joining me. We're going to have to talk again soon.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you for having me.
hang on the call, and I'll end the recording.
I will.